recorded, so.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. And I kind of, honestly, I totally forgot that I had set it up. I forgot that
I'm just glad you guys know how to do all that stuff.
I watched the video to help figure it out. Katie figured it out before I did, but I watched the video.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm good at answering the Google Hangouts, but I haven't set one up yet, so.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they made it more complicated, too. So
they did.
Yeah, it's way more complicated than it's been in past semesters.
Yeah. Definitely.
It is more complicated. But it is what it is. Supposedly it's still in beta, so maybe they'll revert back to the original.
Oh, okay, good.
That'd be nice. Does anybody have a spiritual thought or scripture they'd like to share?
Well, I can tell you about something I noticed tonight. So right before this, I was over. So for my internship, what I'm doing is developing networking groups in the Tulsa area where I live. And so we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. No, there's 6. There's 6. There's 6 networking groups that happen, but I actually am only I'm helping somebody else get them all developed and progressing and everything. And so every third Thursday of the month, they have something called a cash mob where we go to a local business and just try and dump some cash on them. Basically, just support the local business and it's an unnetworking event. It's not anything formal. We don't share our 60-second commercials or anything. It's not anything organized. It's really just a purpose of just coming and getting to know people outside of the business world.
That's cool.
Outside of their business face, how do they look? How do they feel? How do they act? Who's the real person behind the business person that we always see, type thing. So. But it always ends up that they end up being at some sort of bar, pub, or something, because those are the most local businesses you're going to find. Those are the really easy local businesses, because we're definitely trying to get something that's purely local, and sometimes that's what you find. It's either that or a restaurant, something like that. And so tonight it was at a pub, and there's different people, just kind of chatting and enjoying the time, and I'm just sitting here going, it's really great that people can get to know me without an alcoholic face on. I'm not influenced by anything. This is just really me. It's the same type of person you're going to see when you go to the networking events versus the same person you're going to see here. There's nothing extra. Some other people they you could tell that, or at least I had the thought. I'm okay, maybe you've had a couple drinks and now you're a little bit more loosey goosey and funny, or at least you think you're funny, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of entertaining, but at the same time I'm is this really you, or is this just you if I was to see you with some alcohol in your hand, And so it made me a little bit more grateful for the word of wisdom, because then we're really us. We're not putting on a show or anything. We're not influenced by anything. We are the real deal all the time.
That's cool.
That is cool. That's way cool. So was everybody drinking, and you were the only one who didn't have a drink, or?
No, there's some other people that were just doing water or spritz water or other stuff. I really like what are they called? Mocktails, where you don't add the alcoholic to it, but you just have like a Shirley Temple, something like that, where you kind of put Sprite with the red grenadine stuff in it. Yeah. I really love margaritas without the alcohol in it. Those are my super favorites. I love margaritas. They're really yummy by themselves. With the alcohol, they smell really funny. So tequila or whatever, I think it's gross. The whole smelling of alcohol was enough to turn me away from it. It's very gross. And so, but there are some people that were just, drinking water and other things. But since we were at a pub, it happened to be a night where if you pay $9, where normally it'd be $2 or $3 because it was happy hour, whatever. Learning all these new terms. That you can actually get a fancy German-looking glass, and so there was a bunch of people with these fancy German-looking glasses because you pay a little bit extra to get the glass and your pint of whatever tap beer, whatever it was. Whatever. So, I mean, I took my husband with me because he went to all those networking events a whole lot more than I did, because we've been going to these since June, July, something like that. And so he would go to actually like all of them in the area that he could, because he was doing sales, and so like he was doing lots of networking. But then he got a new job, and then he wasn't going, and now I have to go because I needed to get my hours in. I have to get 200 hours before June. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours too, especially just going in the evenings.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not always in the evenings. They have, I mean, I go to 3 luncheons, and that gives me 2 hours, and then I have a bunch of different other projects. And so I started asking all the business owners and all the people at the luncheons. I'm like, I need to get at least 20 hours a week, hours in a reasonable amount of time, at least before like May or June or so. And so they've all gotten excited, because I'm like, you don't have to pay me. I'm an intern. My sole purpose is to help your company grow and to help these luncheons grow. And so whatever you guys can come up with, even if it's busy work, I need some time. So I have different people going, oh, I'll take you up on that offer. So I have like different things that I work on in the evenings for whatever purposes. Because I mean, I already have 90 hours.
Wow.
And so really I only have to get like 160 something more hours. Because I've been working on this since June, but still, it's interesting.
That's good. Is that your internship? Is it a 1, 2, or 3 credit?
It's a 1 credit, but since I'm so non-traditional, like I don't have like a job that I can go to.
Yeah, you gotta kind of rack up the hours somewhere else.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna have to be.
Yeah, I just totally got lucky that I knew somebody, and he was developing these new networking meetings, and he was like, "Okay, this is what you're gonna do." I'm like, "Okay,
That's awesome.
Whatever you can come up with." So any time that I go and I spend, it's called a meetup, where I go and I meet some of the other business owners to learn about their company and learn about what type of people they're needing. That counts towards it. Or if I actually go to the luncheon, and those are about 2 hours by the time I get there and help them get everything set up, and we have the hour luncheon, and then we do socializing afterwards, just chitter chatting, and then I get home. That's 2 hours. And then any extra projects that anybody gives me, her book, and I made bookmarks for her. So anytime I spent on designing any of her bookmarks, or any time I spent on helping with like organizing her book before it got published, counted. So it gives me a lot of opportunities to do stuff like at midnight when I'm most free.
Yeah.
And just at home.
That is nice.
Yeah, but then also figure out, okay, how do I make it to a luncheon 3 times a week?
Yeah, that's tough, especially with kids and everything.
Yeah, I mean, my
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and sometimes it's really complicated, and then sometimes I just don't make it, and I just go, well, too bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to show up at the luncheon when there's 15 minutes left. So,
Not worth it.
yeah. Well, I mean, by the time I actually like get like my 3rd child, because she's still home, and then we have the baby, but she just goes to the luncheon with me,
Nice.
and I just try to make sure I serve her all, and then she goes. So, and everybody's loved having her there. They're like, why can't you bring her out? I'm like, because she's going to totally distract you. Having her here is not the purpose of our luncheon.
Yeah, everyone wants the baby. Well, that's good.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Let's go ahead and jump in. So I don't know if you guys have the discussion questions pulled up.
Yes. So you do not have to read them.
Okay. So number 3. Was the VC industry attractive? I don't know. This was a kind of an intense case study this time. That had a lot of stuff that I tried not to let go over my head. But I don't think that venture capitalist industry was looking very attractive because only very top companies would really get good returns, and so I think it had high competition, and it was probably hard to enter, and new entrants probably didn't do so well. But what did you guys think?
Well,
I agree.
go ahead, Matt.
Oh, go. Yeah, I was gonna say I agree because it talks about that in the case study, right? It's something like 3% make up 95% of the business or something. It sounds like it's really competitive, and there's kind of a large established group of competitors. So I thought the same thing, that it sounds like a tough market to enter. And I had the same challenge too. I think this whole like venture capitalist like market, it kind of has its own lingo and stuff. So this was a tough case study for me to read through too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with all the venture capitals and general partners and all like the acronyms they kept throwing out. I had to like keep going back and remembering, okay, what does this mean? You're saying these letters, but what does that mean? But I was thinking, like I was remembering back from the previous case that we just did, and where they said that like in October of 2008, the financial department, financial area industry had like a big downturn, kind of had like a little crash. And so I was thinking, how did these venture capitalists get all their money? If they do those kinds of investments, if their investments are having trouble, then maybe that is also another reason on why people might not want to get into that industry at that point in time.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's very true. So with all the entrenched incumbents, apparently I can't read, and catch-22s, what silver lining did a16z see? How did they plan to succeed? I think they saw that there was a way to do things differently, that there was a way to find the best investments and really work with them to help them do well. I don't know. What else do you guys think?
Well, here's some clarification that I was actually working on right before we jumped on. So, because I was trying to think of like exactly what the hierarchy is. So you have these entrepreneurs that are trying to create the startups that we've been reading about in previous cases, and they go to a venture capitalist firm and they say, we need funding. Now, the venture capitalist firm, they actually have investors into their firm also, as if the venture capital firm is a startup themselves. Is that how you read this? Because that's what I kept thinking, and it blew my mind to think that a venture capital firm is like a business that needs investors.
Yeah, because it did talk about them having like a round or something, right? I don't know. I know that, yeah, that part was kind of fuzzy for me.
Or was it getting around just to give them startup money to invest? If that makes sense.
Oh, that could be it too. Yeah, because they have to have their venture money, right? Their seed money and all that. Yeah, that part's tricky. I agree though too with as far as kind of their silver lining was that they had that tech background and they kind of wanted to have a different approach to the venture capitalism than other groups did. Other groups kind of had, let's talk about like them having silos where this was like the tech guy, this was the finance guy, where these guys were all had a background of running businesses and having startups and kind of had that firsthand experience, which was it seemed like a good approach.
I was also really impressed that they kind of had respect and for everybody. Like it wasn't just like if they had somebody come and try and do a presentation for them, they didn't show up late. They were very on time. They sent a survey to them to figure out, how was your experience? Did you enjoy it? Would you reference us to some other entrepreneurs that are looking for funding also. And I was like, that is a completely different way than I would have ever thought about it. Because you kind of think of these little startup companies being like these little tiny mice, you know, coming and just like seeking for these little crumbs of like, please, we need some money. We really can't do anything. We have these great ideas. We want to go do all these great things, but we have nothing to do with it. But in turn, from this case, it gave me the feeling that, you know, it's like me going to my brother instead, going, I have this really great idea. If you want to jump on top of it, I need some extra funding to get my idea going. I already have some, but I need some more. So if you want to jump on top of it with me, then we can both benefit. But if you don't do a good presentation, I might not accept you as somebody that's going to invest in my great idea. And I was like, it's a completely different way than I had ever envisioned it before, too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, the next bullet. I thought their name was interesting too, a16z. Like that kind of threw me off first because I'm like, what is this? And then I had to remember like that is the name of the company.
Andreessen Horowitz. Maybe that's why they call it a16z.
Maybe. Do you think there's 16 letters in both their names? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. That was a weird name.
But anyways, so why are they specifically targeting first-time technical co-founders? I think probably because they'd been there, and then all the general partners that they ended up hiring had been founders of companies, and they knew that, you know, people just need somebody to believe in them and believe in their idea. And
well, as I saw it, they were also trying to help the new startups. Like they didn't just say, okay, here's your money, good luck, go do what you want to do. We want a good return on our investment, have fun. But in turn, I saw them as somebody that would actually almost be like a mentor. They weren't going to do stuff for them, but they were mentoring these new startup companies along the way.
Yeah.
So that would also be very enticing as a new startup of saying, you know, we want you guys because we know that you're not just going to ditch us. You know, just throw money to us and hope we survive because you want.
They wanted them to succeed.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
And I was just thinking too, it talked about how so many other companies were overlooked, like how Google and so many of those companies were kind of overlooked by bigger VCs, you know, and I think they were kind of trying to grab some of those, like maybe out of 10 that they invest in, maybe only one maybe will be successful, but it'd be a huge success. So I think they're kind of trying to be optimistic about that.
Yeah, so it'd be worth it in the end with that big success that they found.
Yeah.
I was noticing that. I was like, I recognize Pinterest and I recognize Zanga and I recognize some of those other names.
Yeah, those are the things I recognized.
Yes. I didn't have to go look up the term for that on Google myself. So.
Let's see. How has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry? Well, it costs a lot of money, and I think there's a lot of startups out there looking for a lot of money, and not everybody is willing to invest, and especially in something they don't believe in. Like this kind of reminded me of the show Shark Tank. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah,
a little bit. But I just kept thinking of like those Shark Tank investors and like what they would say or how they would, you know, this isn't for me, or you know, I don't really believe in this, so I wouldn't be able to help you as much. And I think that's what these guys did as well, because they said they didn't always fund everybody. Like if they didn't feel like it was going to be a good fit, they politely declined and said, you know, we're gonna we're gonna pass this time, but good luck, I guess, you know. And so it's kind of interesting comparing what I see on TV to what's in the case. Oh.
I think the technology area is also really tricky to jump into.
It's always changing.
Yeah, like technology is crazy fast. Like, I mean, I bought this computer that I'm working on 2 years ago, and it's already out of date. It's like every 6 months. If you want to keep up with it, every 6 months you need to buy the new stuff that's coming out. So the technology area is really, really tricky because it either is going to work or it's probably going to flop. I mean like even just like, yeah, it's very volatile. It's not a nice industry to jump into, and I was really surprised that they chose to jump into the technology area. But the technology area is also really booming. So, I mean, maybe you have a better chance of getting a really good company if you're in the technology area, but you also have a lot of risk.
Yeah, I guess the rewards outweighed the risks for them.
Probably, definitely.
Let's see. The next bullet, what choices do technical founders have for financing that they didn't have a decade before? Like as of right now, or is it like just in the case study?
I think in the case study, I remember it talked about like crowdfunding. I think that's a new resource that they had. That probably wasn't 10 years ago, you know. Kind of lightens their load as far as financing some of these new tech companies.
Yeah, it can be kind of a group effort.
You guys, do any of you know anything about like companies that have survived through crowdfunding?
I don't. Do you? I don't. Not personally. Do you guys?
Well, there's this game that my husband's really, really interested in. It's called Star Citizen, and it is 100% purely crowdfunded.
Huh.
Everything. I mean, it's a virtual reality type concept. I mean, you can use like a VR headset to actually do this. I mean, to play the game, but it's actually still in beta, and they've had like millions of dollars, and it's purely crowdfunded. Everything. They're not in any debt whatsoever because it's purely like player backed. You know, so crowdfunding is my example for this one. It's called Star Citizen, and every, I mean it's a really kind of, I mean, since it's still in beta, every time my husband goes to log on, which he doesn't do it all the time, but you're flying spaceships and you can actually go on land on planets and you can go and explore planets, and they've been developing this game for years now, and people keep coming up with more things that they want, so they just keep continuing to expand the game, and for you to actually participate in the beta, you have to purchase a ship, and costs for ships can range from anywhere from like $50 to like thousands of dollars.
Like real money?
Like real US dollars, not euros.
Wow.
Like this is purely like all dollars. And so like my husband didn't actually buy a ship. He's actually using like one of his friend's accounts. Because his friend is actually using another person's account. Because so person A does not have a computer. They are so excited for this game that they purchased a ship, but they do not have a computer that will actually play this game. They are going to purchase a computer at the time that this game is released. That way they can have the best computer to play on this game. So since they own a ship but cannot play on it, person B plays with their ship, and then person C plays with person B's ship.
Nice. Well, what y'all do for your husband?
Yeah, so my husband is person C. And so he plays with like this just low level ship, but because he has a ship that he can fly around in space with or whatever, then he has access to doing like viewing all sorts of other stuff. And so every time he logs on, there's always an update. And last night there was an update for 38 gigs.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. This is a huge game, but I'm just super amazed this is like completely crowdfunded.
Funded along the way. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's a good example.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So if you go look up Space Station, or not a Space Station, Star Citizen, you can actually go to YouTube and they have videos every week letting people know what's going on. And so instead of them reporting to investors, they're actually reporting to game players of exactly what's going on and what they've developed now and what they're focusing on. And they even have like a Star Citizen convention where people come and, have all these different things. And they're, designing new ships that you can actually get on and walk around on and live on and, have your own bed and everything. Like you can even have other characters to fly on your own ship and all these other things. So it's a really, really neat thing, but it just amazes me about how much funding they continue to get. And they even talk about, all this funding that they've received and how much more funding they continue to receive. But the person that's doing this is not actually his first, like the main, I guess you call it the CEO, the main designer, the head guy of doing all this stuff. This is actually his second time doing a game like this. And I can't remember what the first game was. But this is definitely
doing it though.
Yeah. Well, this is just on a much larger scale. Because with this one, you could actually use a virtual reality headset and play the game instead of just, sitting on your computer and using the controls. Like people are like, my husband's like, I want to buy a joystick and I want to get all this other stuff so I can actually fly like I'm in a real airplane and have like little pedals. And I'm like, dude, this is a game.
Yeah.
but it's going to be, once it's actually released, it's going to be a big deal because it's what is that one? The one video game that was released that they've spent like the most money on. It's like Gangsters. Oh, what is it?
I don't know video games.
I don't know what it is. But supposedly it was a game that's had like the most. It cost the most to make. They've had more funding on this game than that one.
Wow.
Wow, that's cool.
Wow.
You drive around, you shoot. I can't remember. It'll come to me. Whatever.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But let us know if you think of it.
Yes. Yeah, it'll come to me. GTA, Grand Theft Auto. That's what it is. GTA 5.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yep. Huh. I haven't played it. That's probably why I can't remember it, and I haven't even seen it. But I just remember hearing it. It has more funding than GTA 5 costs, and it costs the company. Like the company themselves had to pay to make this game, and so they're still trying to make their money back. Whereas this one, it's already paid for because it's all crowdfunded.
Wow.
So it is awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that crowdfunding would definitely affect the way these venture capitalist firms invest too, it seems like. So I'm sure if it's affecting more than just certain markets. So that's a good example. That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But I think if it's also crowdfunded, then that means you already know that you have people that are wanting to, take part in your product, whatever, or service, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of a proof of concept.
Yeah. Whereas if you just have a venture capital going, I think this is a good idea. It may not work.
Yeah, you kind of already have like the early evangelists, like we had talked about, those people who are ready to get it, even if it does have bugs.
Yes.
Yep.
They already want it. They're like, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, pretty much. That's always a good sign. Okay, so question 4. So how does a16z's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms to source, pick, and win? I think they, compared to other VC firms, like we kind of talked about earlier, they would have, you know, good meetings with these entrepreneurs. They'd have to be on time. They'd really be respectful of the entrepreneur's time. You know, it wasn't all about them, like I'm the one with the money. And they went about it differently in that way, making, so I'm sure they had entrepreneurs probably lined out the door being like, I want to work with you rather than somebody else. And I think that probably gave him a little bit of an edge. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, if I had my choice, I definitely want to work with them. I mean, I was even interested in like the portion where they were talking about other venture capitalist firms kind of snub their nose at self-marketing. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you really want the best people to be attracted to you, it makes sense that you would market, at least let people know that you're out there. I mean, the a16z, they're not even a very old venture capitalist firm. They're kind of new. So if they really want people that think they have the best ideas to come to them, instead of them going out and you know, trying to really find their people, instead they're trying to attract good things to them. So that made sense to me. But
and I said they had different criteria too, right? Where the bigger firms, they looked for startups without weaknesses, where these guys looked for firms with strengths. So they may have a bunch of weaknesses, but as long as they're really passionate, it says that they would still go with them. That's kind of cool.
That reminds me of the Dropbox case, because he was really passionate about, like, you know, we're going to make this work, and he was even mentioned in this case as, you know, some of the big ones that worked. Because they did have a lot of bugs at the beginning, but then they were just like, you know, we're going to stick to it, and we're going to focus on what we're doing, and we're just going to move forward. So definitely the passionate ones. I'm trying to think.
I agree.
What book that I read? I think it was by Guy Kawasaki, and he was talking about whenever you go to a venture capitalist and do a presentation, he's like, you need to be hyped up on coffee, and you need to be super excited, and you need to have all the energy. You need to have your presentation down, and try not to have. And you need to have a backup of your presentation, and then you have a backup of your backup presentation on a cloud drive so that you can get it if you need to. And then you need to have like your own internet source. That if their internet source doesn't work, you can have it. But the biggest deal is that you need to be passionate. If you don't believe in it, then why should they? Type thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's true. It's very true. So the first bullet point under number 4, think of sources, the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. And I think we kind of just talked about this a little bit, about how they treat its founders. Let's see. Increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals. Yeah, we kind of went over that question, saying that they probably have more people wanting to come and make deals with them in the end.
And that they have more people, then they have a better selection. So it becomes like a buyer's market instead of a seller's market type thing. They have more people to choose from because they have more options. They can really figure out which ones are the best ones to get.
Yeah, which ones are going to work best with them and stuff. How will this change if a16z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals compared to the competition? I thought it was awesome that they would leave the CEOs in charge and not, or, you know, the founders in charge of being the CEOs and not try to replace them, because who knows this startup company better than its founders. I thought that was a very smart move to help these companies continue to grow. I mean, nobody knows the company better. Nobody has more passion about the company than the founders. And so I think that if they start firing these CEOs, I think that definitely decreased the number of potential deals. I mean, if I was a founder of a company, I wouldn't want to go to them knowing they were just going to fire me later. So that would probably drive people away in the end.
It's kind of like a safety net that I think would attract more people too.
Yeah.
I would be really ticked off if I had worked so hard and had built this company and I had gone and done all the work to get it built up, and then all of a sudden, things are going great. We're probably about to, get an initial public offering, and then all of a sudden they come and tell me we're kicking you out and replacing you with somebody else, and I'd be like, why? Do I get to choose who's replacing me? Do I have any say, or am I just going to get money so I can go do something else? But that's my baby that I just built there. I put my heart and sweat into it, and now you're telling me that good job. Okay, go do something else. Really?
Yeah.
Do I at least get to clean out my office, or do I get to leave any notes for the next person coming? I mean, how does this work?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's true. It's true. I think they're very smart to leave the CEOs there.
For 3 years, and you're making me leave.
Yeah, I would not be happy, because even if they aren't performing well, startups see a lot of ups and downs over the matter of sometimes a few hours within a day, because they're so volatile and really just a baby, and so that it's not kind of giving the founders a chance if you just, okay, you're gone, see you later. So.
And you also wonder, is it a first-time entrepreneur that's coming to them? I mean, especially if I was a first-time entrepreneur and I was really, I'm super excited for my idea and I really, really want it to work, and I really want to, because you have different entrepreneurs. People get into businesses because they just want to make tons of money, and then you have people that want to get into businesses because they believe in their product. And then you have other entrepreneurs that want to get in because they want their product to help create value or help something else out in the world. So their purpose is to create this product to actually help other people versus helping themselves. So, I mean, you have this wide variety of people that are coming and creating businesses or software or technology software, or, whatever they're doing as an entrepreneur. And even if it's their first time going into it, like we read in the last case, they may not know some of the little tidbits that they need to do to make themselves successful. So if this company has a tradition, or what would you call it, a persona, you perceive them as somebody that's actually going to help entrepreneurs try and have their company be successful as much as it possibly can be. If they're not providing value, it's going to flop. But if they are providing value, then in hopes that they could actually go and be successful and actually grow their big business so that it can be either bought by somebody else or it can grow to be this own big thing on its own. But the a16z's, the way that they kind of encourage the CEO to learn and to grow, and they give them suggestions, and even if they do need other helpers, like if they were needing another marketing person, they'd be like, hey, we've already done some research and we think this would be a great marketing person to come in and help you grow your business. So they give them suggestions. They're not going to do it for them because that would take away their learning, but they kind of help develop these, poor little entrepreneurs that may or may not know what's ahead. Because the scariest thing I think of as an entrepreneur is that I don't know what I don't know. And so I don't even know that I'm going to screw up. And so, you kind of expect that I'm going to make some mistakes, but I don't know that if I do this or if I don't do this, then it's going to affect me a year down the line or whatever. But as these guys who have already gone through it and they've already probably made all the mistakes, and they can kind of foresee signs and tidbits of, we might suggest to this person that might be a bad idea. But if he wants to do it, he's going to do it. It's because we got to let him learn But at the same time, here's our suggestion of maybe this direction might be a better way, or maybe this person might be a better person to jump in on board. Or if you actually have to hire somebody instead of just hiring 20 people and letting 13 of them go, like maybe you might want this particular one because this one person can do a whole lot better than all those other 13 people.
Yeah.
So I was like, I like the idea of just leaving the CEO in as long as they can do it. But at the same time, I can also see as an investor, if I foresee them, just kind of being reckless, and it's like, do you really care about what's going to happen to the company? Do you care about your investing? Are you really just going crazy with all this money because you're money happy and like now you just don't know what to do? Like are you just excited to swim in the money, or are you really trying to make more money? Like what's going on? If I could see as an investor going, okay, clearly we like your idea more than you do, so we're going to replace you. But if they're really doing their job as a CEO and as founder of their company, might as well let them learn.
It's true. Because how else are they going to learn than by going through it and using that experience?
I mean, if they have the guts and everything to create a company in the first place, what is it, Silicon Valley, or the government, the nation as a whole kind of needs more people like that, willing to take that risk. So if you're going to just let them flop in the first place and be like, well, if I'm just going to start a company and if I need venture capitalists to invest in my company and they're just going to kick me out, why would I want to start another company? That'd be totally discouraging.
It's true. It's true. What question are we on?
I think bullet point 204. Or actually, maybe bullet point 3.
Okay, yeah, we just answered it. So, how does the operating team help a16z source pick win? Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? Does it affect the ability to pick winners? Does it actually have an impact on the odds? How does the operating team like is it talking about the employees of?
Yeah, I talked about some of those bigger ones. I think it was talking about how some of the bigger VCs, all of the, what's it called, the bigwigs have to all vote, right? And then by the time they all vote, it ends up all kind of convoluted, and so everyone kind of looks like generic and average. So, but the difference with the a16z is that one of these, what's the name for them? General managers or whatever, one of them can decide if they want to. If they really see a startup that has talent or looks promising, they can decide by themselves to invest in it. So,
oh, okay.
That was one thing that was different that seemed like it kind of helped them stand out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On page 9, it says A16Z's operating team. And whenever it starts it, and then it goes into like their technical talent and how they hire different people for their technical talent, and then they have like the executive talent, and then they have marketing. Oh, that's under, let's see here. Marketing, under marketing's marketing department.
Okay.
And then they had corporate development, and that was the last group. So they actually had different groups to create their entire operating team to help pick from different stuff. So
yeah, that's like a big advantage.
Yeah, definitely. When it looks like they got a lot of, they picked a lot from referrals, and other people and online sources. So people who, and probably startups that were reputable already, that they felt like wouldn't be a total flop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it said so where's the first one it said? the professionals would coach the portfolio companies on how to manage their recruiting efforts, but they would not conduct specific talent searches for the companies. Doing so would require a huge staff. So they didn't do everything for these companies that they were working with. But first they would need to be scalable. So like they originally designed their operating team so that it could grow with them. So, and then the operating team efforts would be structured as a set of multi-sided platforms, each harnessing networks effects to deliver long-term value for all platform participants. And then third, the co-founders wanted the operating team to be helpful to technical founders, but not to serve as a crutch. So.
Yeah, it seems like a big help. They're gonna kind of coach them through instead of just doing it for them.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you teach a man to fish,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just. That's cool. Okay. So question 5: put yourselves in the shoes of Andreessen and Horowitz. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Vote as a group. The decision must be unanimous. Consider the following.
I don't remember that part. How many portfolio companies can one general partner support? Was it 10?
No, that's the only portion I highlighted in this entire thing because there was just so much.
I made that number up.
So on page 13, it says most venture capital partners sat on no more than 10 portfolio company boards. Beyond that point, they could be stretched too thin to be effective at advising companies and at sourcing new deals.
Okay.
So page 13, right above diversification, is that paragraph that a portion of the paragraph I just read. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know if they were already at 10? Let's see.
There's 10 of them now, right? And they're looking at maybe going to 20.
Yeah, they sat on no more than 10. Okay.
Yeah, and they were also trying to decide if they should, stay in the technical area or should they go into other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was thinking if they really wanted to branch out, because I understood the portion of kind of like a mutual fund. Do you guys know how mutual funds work?
Mm-hmm. Kind of diversify your investments across a group of assets.
Yeah. So I guess for Katie, so Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my understanding of a mutual fund is that, like, say for example, I take stocks in Walmart because they're retail, and I take stocks in Petco, and in General Electric, and in Toyota, and in some other oil company.
Mm-hmm.
Oil and gas, so I have all these multiple different investments, and so I have all these stocks in all these different companies, and in theory is that if I have multiple investments in all these different areas, that if one of those areas flops, my entire investment won't flop. If one area rises and one area might fall, then it all is going to kind of even out, and so in theory my entire portfolio will grow. So
Okay.
yeah, like Matt was saying, like, you have it diversified. That way, if I only put all my money into the oil and gas industry, well, like recently there was big issues with oil and gas, and so I would have lost tons of money. But because I was diversified in a bunch of different kind of areas, then my entire overall portfolio or my mutual fund didn't just totally die.
Okay.
So I can understand that their idea behind wanting to diversify some of their assets, which their assets are, startup companies, and not just being the technical area of maybe jumping into other areas of startups. Like, instead of just being technological, they can jump into, and I think the clean is like, what example of clean? I just told him blank. Solar panels, like solar panels.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
You know, like that, or clean energy of, you know, or
It
like,
seems like the weakness with that, because I think on the quiz I answered that they should go into different sectors, but then I think it kind of, I realized that all these guys are like tech guys, right? So for all these tech guys to all of a sudden get into, say they're going to invest in like solar panels maybe, or even stuff like, I don't know, like oil or things that they maybe have no understanding of, it seems like they really risk losing a lot of money in that. You know, how are they going to recognize talent or good business ideas getting into these new areas that they really don't know about, where other big VC firms talk about them having a whole different spread of talent they could kind of rely on, where these guys are more specific towards technology. So maybe they should go more towards geographical. I don't know if we have to choose between one or the other, but
Hmm.
I kind of had to flip flop on it, I guess.
Huh. That's true. I hadn't thought about that because I was thinking that they should diversify, like you said, not grow geographically, but I hadn't thought that they might not have that knowledge to even make that work. That's a good point.
well, I had the same idea of diversifying, but I actually ended up choosing the other option, not geographic, but like maybe like the source. I can't remember which was in the quiz. but I was thinking if they're going to choose a different area to jump into, they probably don't want to choose a whole bunch of different areas, because
Yeah,
then it's going to make it even more difficult, like you were saying, to really know what's good and what's bad. So I was like, maybe if they're going to try and get out of technology and into something else, well, they probably just need to choose like maybe like one other area, or maybe two. Maybe they have three options.
it seems scary too, because it says that they won't really know if their choices are successes yet for like 10 years, right? So
Yeah.
they don't know how well they're doing, so they may be doing horrible. And so for them to double up on their management and just really start dumping cash into it may not be a great idea until they start seeing some results. So maybe kind of be a little more patient.
Yeah.
I had that same thought, Matt.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe you need to just wait to find out if you're really doing a good job before you jump into
Yeah,
something
just
else.
chill out a little bit.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, it's okay. There's always going to be startups. You're not missing out on anything. But if you move too fast or if you grow too fast, you're going to bite yourself in the butt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree. Yeah. Is that kind of our vote, that they should maybe hold off and be patient a little longer, or you guys
Sure, if you guys are all good with that.
have another vote option? I think that would be the smartest decision. See if things actually pan out before
Yeah.
stretching themselves too thin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds good to me.
Okay.
I say the same thing. Like, give yourself until your company. I mean, if it takes 10 years, because weren't they saying that it takes about 7 years to take a company from startup to an internet IPO, initial public offering.
Oh
So,
yeah.
if it takes about 7 years and this company is still new, did they get started in 06? No. This is where are you?
Basically, they just need to wait and see
I
how
think,
things go a little bit.
yeah.
They were founded in 09. So, I mean, it hasn't even been, let's see here. They have 2 more years.
It's only been about 4 years, hasn't it?
This case was written in
So,
2014. So, but that's not what we're going for.
Okay.
So we say they should wait.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and start our little summary of our meeting. So we all voted as a group, and came to the consensus that we think they should hold off and not try to diversify and not try to grow geographically, because they need to see if they'll actually be successful yet and if their returns are going to come through. And yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to add to the summary?
So if at one point in time they do feel they are becoming successful, it wouldn't be a good idea to try and like diversify too much. Either they need to be, just kind of focus, geographically and stay in the technology area if that's their area that they're knowledgeable about. But if it turns out that they have knowledge in other areas like clean energy or something like that, then they probably just need to stick with those two areas that they personally, as founders or as whatever you call them, partners, that they have had experience in versus jumping into areas that they haven't personally had any experience in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey.
Alrighty. I think that's it.
Well, good discussion, guys. Thanks for letting me join you.
Yeah.
So I will stop the broadcast.